one of the sort of like the jockeying that's gone on with the Epstein files has been Donald Trump's repeated insistence on, oh, I kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. I found out he was a creep. I was not involved, yada, yada, yada. But now, in the 2000s, he wasn't really involved, okay? He had separated by then. He had Mar-a-Lago. It was this really popular club. And Donald Trump sort of moved in a different direction after Epstein and Ghislaine were taking girls from the resort. But in the 90s, though, which Trump never talks about, in the 90s, Trump and Epstein were best friends, okay? They were not like party meeters. They were not like flew on the plane to go do some business in Africa or anything. They were best friends, okay? And everybody knew they were best friends, and their friendship was based on sex. Thus, the birthday book with the drawing of the girl and the Jeffrey and the parties with, 20, like swimsuit models and only the two of them at Mar-a-Lago. And having the modeling girls from Trump Tower show up and walk across their dinner table. The girls with no underwear on and shit like that. Like after Trump and Ivana broke up, him and Epstein, he met Epstein through Ghislaine Maxwell. And in the 90s, they were inseparable, okay? And their relationship was based on sex and women and talking about sex. It was like, they were like one and the fucking same. And this article, okay, this article is the first article to really look into this. Don's best friend, how Epstein and Trump bonded over the pursuit of women. The president has tried to minimize their friendship, but documents and interviews reveal an intense and complicated relationship. Chasing women was a game of ego and dominance. Female bodies were currency. Okay? And of course, there's the photograph, which is from that video. Okay? That photograph is from this video. Right, which is from the 90s, okay? This video right here, which is from a party at Mar-a-Lago. There's Epstein, right? And he came with some people. Trump walks him in. This is from the mid-90s. And you're going to see Ghislaine back here. You're going to see Ghislaine Maxwell. She's going to enter the frame. She's back there, right there, with their short hair, entertaining the people. But they were at a party. They're chatting. This was on NBC. Okay, yeah, 92. Yeah, it was like, but they're like chummy. They were buds. Okay, they were buds. So that's what that photo's from, right? I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. Terrific guy. He likes the ladies, and I must say, he likes them a little young. To shed light on their friendship, the Times interviewed more than 30 former Epstein employees, victims of his abuse, and others who crossed paths with the two men over the years. The Times also obtained new documents that illuminate their relationship and scoured court documents and other public records. Okay, so they did their research, guys. Okay, they did. Many of the people interviewed by the Times asked to share their stories anonymously, saying they feared for their safety at the hands of supporters of Mr. Trump, a president who has deployed the might of the federal government to target and punish his political opponents. Some Epstein victims have already received death threats for demanding a full accounting of the government's investigations, according to a statement released by more than 24 of them last month. All right, here's a famous photo. This is Epstein and Trump, and he brought his kids. Okay, this is Eric and Ivanka. Over the course of his friendship with Mr. Epstein and beyond, he left a trail of alleged abuse and assault, many details of which began to surface publicly during his successful 2016 presidential campaign. Close to 20 women have accused Trump of groping, forcibly kissing, or sexually assaulting them. Behavior that he once bragged he could get away with because of his celebrity, but later denied ever engaging in. But let's be honest. He bragged about it. We know he was doing it. All right. In 2023, the writer 𝗙ecie𝗶𝗵𝗋 won a $5 million civil judgment against Trump for sexual abuse and defamation. In response to a detailed list of questions from the Times, the White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt issued a statement. This fake news story, which is not worth the paper it's printed on, is just another stale regurgitation of decades-old false allegations against President Trump. The truth will remain the same no matter how many times the New York Times tries to change it. President Trump did nothing wrong, and he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for being a creep. Again, they try to take that one event and erase, they try to erase his entire, 15 years of friendship. Look at this. To Jeff, you are the greatest. Donald. Guys, if you thought the Epstein shit was gnarly, it is about to get dirty. Okay? It's going to get dirty because Trump is not going to release this shit. They are going to finagle. They're going to use every opportunity in the book to try and sabotage this. So this is interesting though, because, right, you are the greatest. Obviously, Donald Trump doesn't say that lightly. Mr. Trump has denied knowing of Mr. Epstein's abuse of underage girls. But in a tranche of emails released in November, Mr. Epstein suggested otherwise. In a 2019 message to journalist Michael Wolff, he wrote of Mr. Trump, of course he knew about the girls, as he asked Elaine to stop. The full context of Mr. Epstein's remark is unclear. In a 2010 deposition, Mr. Epstein was asked if he had ever socialized with Mr. Trump with girls under 18. As he did more than 36 times during the deposition, Mr. Epstein invoked his constitutional right not to answer.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
Dude, did you see that look where he's like, you motherfucker, right, dude? What? That look where he's like, dude, unfucking real, bro, right? There you go. That's the 2010 deposition. Sometimes the phone would ring in Mr. Trump's office at Trump Tower. The caller, the mysterious Jeffrey, as Trump described him in a 2004 book of business advice, never gave a last name, nor did he need to, Mr. Trump wrote. A few times a week, the phone would ring in Mr. Epstein's office in the Villard houses on Madison Avenue. Mr. Trump would be on the line. On one occasion, recalled an Epstein assistant from the mid-90s, Mr. Trump refused to give any name at all. Okay? The White House spokeswoman declined to say whether Mr. Trump's book was referring to a different Jeffrey. Of course they did. But the two talked at least 3 times a week during the mid to late 90s, according to a second Epstein assistant from the period. So they're hanging out, guys, and they're talking 2 to 3 times a week. I mean, that's a pretty close friendship on the phone, dude. Let me just tell you, when you're talking to somebody on the phone 3 times a week, dude, you're close, okay? Definitely close. The first assistant, who often worked late, recalled that sometimes when the office emptied out, Mr. Epstein would check to see that she was at her desk and put Mr. Trump on speaker. Mr. Trump, she said, seemed to enjoy regaling Mr. Epstein with tales of his sexual exploits. And Mr. Epstein seemed to delight in how uncomfortable it made her to overhear them. Like, my God, dude, they're even like sexually harassing the help, right? Having to listen to Trump talk. Because you know that Trump is a kiss and tell, right? Right? You know it. That he goes out and does shit to women, and then he goes and just tells everybody about it, every gory detail, like down to the fucking T, I'm sure. And the other thing that Trump used to do that was well known is he used to try to destroy people's relationships, okay? And this was like real common. And let me tell you what he used to do, guys. because this is dirty, okay? Say there's a guy in his circle, in the real estate or the business or entertainment circle that he didn't like, that he was jealous of, some guy that he just hated. So what he would do is when that guy's wife went to the bathroom, Trump would wait for her, and when she came out, he would like literally like touch her genitals or stick his tongue down her mouth or force her into some situation where they had done something intimate, and he would force it on them. And then it was like, if she told her husband it happened, he would just make it seem like they were hooking up. So then the wife would now have this terrible secret of like being, you know, SA'd and harassed by Trump, and she couldn't tell her husband because they were business partners. Maybe the husband needed to be business partners, and he would do that kind of shit to insert these little like psychological riffs in people's relationships. He was kind of well known for it, that like some women would literally, they would go to the bathroom with a friend when they were in a Trump space. I mean, so fucking gross, dude. He's just like a terrible fucking human being. You know what I mean? That lives to like harm people. Like he literally exists to hurt people, right? That's what he does. He gets upset at people that he feels like have wronged him, and then he just tries to hurt them, right? Very sadistic. Okay. She remembered one call in the mid-90s in which the two men discussed how much pubic hair a particular woman had and whether there was enough for Mr. Epstein to floss his teeth with. On another, Mr. Trump told Mr. Epstein about having sex with another woman on a pool table, the former assistant said. A woman known in court records as Jane Doe, whom Mr. Epstein trafficked during the mid-90s, beginning in her early teens, testified in Miss Maxwell's criminal trial in 2021 that Mr. Epstein often put famous friends on speakerphone in front of other people. So there's corroboration that other, you know, Epstein survivors had mentioned this as well, that he had a penchant for putting him on speakerphone. The calls with Mr. Trump continued through the later years of the men's friendship, according to a third former employee who worked for Mr. Epstein on and off through most of the 2000s, and also recalled him putting Mr. Trump on speaker. They would talk about pageants or modeling shows or which country's women were in vogue in the fashion world. Sometimes the third employee said Mr. Trump went on so long that Mr. Epstein, whose attention span was famously short, would leave the room while his friend was still talking. Dude, how can I picture that, right? That Epstein is so bored of his blathering on that he just leaves and Trump is just still rambling. Dude, I know that's literally Trump's existence, is him talking when no one cares. A few years into Mr. Trump's friendship with Epstein, Ivana Trump filed for divorce. Mr. Trump's affair with Marla Maples, a former pageant contestant, was running hot and cold. In 92, he invited NBC to Mar-a-Lago to shoot video for a feature about his post-divorce life on the talk show A Closer Look. That's that famous clip that we watched earlier. I love beautiful women. I love going out with beautiful women, and I love women in general, he said in the footage. The cameras captured him and Mr. Epstein at the Palm Beach estate, surrounded by cheerleaders from the Miami Dolphins and Buffalo Bills. In the video, Mr. Trump grabs a smiling woman from the rear, pats her on the behind. In another clip, he appears to point toward women on the dance floor. Mr. Epstein doubles over laughing at something his friend had whispered. That's from this video here. And the photos of Trump grabbing the behind are these images. This is that same party. He was grabbing the, oh my God, the 90s. The hair is crazy. But see, there's one where he's grabbing the waist, but he was like grabbing some booty. But this is all the same party. Just crazy, boss. Dude, the hair. Man, the perms, bro. Dude, that late 80s, early 90s hair was just bad, guys. In the early 2000s, guests mingled in the library dining room of Mr. Epstein's Upper East Side mansion as their hosts held court. The women were beautiful and numerous. The men were older and few. Occasionally, one of the women would head toward the bedrooms. One of the men would shortly follow. One woman, then a model and college-age student in her early 20s living in Manhattan, said she attended 4 parties at the mansion. She cannot recall the names of most of the men she met at the gatherings, not even those Epstein directed her to take care of at 2 of them. Recruited by Miss Maxwell and then abused by Mr. Epstein, she buried her shame and kept their secret for years. But Mr. Trump's presence stood out, she told the Times. He was a household name, someone Epstein often bragged about to women around him, yet also seemed to compete with. It was like a pissing contest. Who had the most women, she recalled. She requested anonymity to describe her experiences in detail, saying she feared for her family's safety after Mr. Trump said some of his critics could be executed for sedition. Dude, it's so gross. And guys, this was common with the modeling agencies, with Casablancas, Jean-Luc Brunel, with Trump, and not only Epstein's girls, but that was part of the modeling business. If you were a model in a modeling agency, the owner of that agency would call you up and you would be entertainment. Okay. When you were not modeling, you had to dress up and come and do crazy shit, like walk on the table with no underwear while they looked up your skirt. You had to attend parties and service these guys. The models were essentially like escorts, okay, that had to do escorting in it and other party favor type behavior where they were the entertainment in exchange for getting those modeling gigs. For Mar-a-Lago gatherings, okay, groups of models were sometimes bussed in from Miami, often with help from Mr. Trump's friend Jason Bin, a co-founder of the society magazine Ocean Drive. Mr. Bin did not return calls and emails seeking comment. Okay, Tina Davis, who worked with Ford models in the mid-90s, said in an interview that her Ford booker instructed her to get dressed up and attend a Mar-a-Lago party in late 94. Just 14 and nude in Miami, she was told to dress sexy, according to her mother, Sandra Coleman, who had accompanied her to Florida. 8 or 9 other models came along on the bus. All the girls were really young, Miss Coleman recalled in an interview. Some of them could have been in training bras, and they were shipped off to a fucking Mar-a-Lago party, dude. That's crazy. When they arrived at Mar-a-Lago, Miss Coleman said her daughter was promptly handed a glass of champagne. She was 14. Her mom took it away, but waiters kept offering more. Each time one of the middle-aged men at the party approached her daughter, Miss Coleman would walk over and introduce herself as Miss Davis's mother. Oh my God, dude. This woman had to watch her daughter while getting perved on. Now, this is likely the parties that Luke from 2 Live Crew was talking about. Okay, during a trip to the bathroom, they ran into Mr. Trump's new wife, who they had met earlier. Miss Maples clasped her hands, Miss Coleman recalled, and looked her in the eye. Whatever you do, do not let her around any of these men, and especially my husband, she told Miss Coleman. Protect her. Wow. Not long after New York Magazine published the first major profile of Mr. Epstein, Mr. Trump provided the headline, quote, "He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." They knew. Okay, they knew. But sometime in the subsequent years, their friendship soured. Exactly when and why is unclear. After the allegations against Epstein slowly began emerging into view in the mid-2000s, accounts Mr. Trump and his reps gave of their relationship and its end began to molt and morph. Mr. Epstein was kicked out of Mar-a-Lago for being inappropriate with the masseuse or with the daughter of a member. Mr. Trump had banned him for poaching employees or for being a creep. Now, again, guys, to put this into perspective, Virginia Giuffre was groomed out of Mar-a-Lago in 2000. Donald Trump didn't kick Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago until 2007. Okay? 7 years later, he got kicked out. And that was after that business deal for that property that Trump undercut after laundering some money for Russians. Right? So there was no, we caught him stealing girls and then we kicked him out. Yeah, 7 years later you did. You fucking bullshit artist. What is up, guys? Thank you so much for watching. You like the video, you want to support independent resistance media, you know what to do. Drop that sub, hit the like button, and please share it. And we do love our members, so if you want to become a member, it's another really great way to support. Thanks again for everything, guys. I'll see you next time. Let's go.